Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2025, and I recently came across a couple of TikTok videos where a young gay man admitted to taking 96 loads within the span of 24 hours. He seemed to be proud of this. He sent out a link to his OnlyFans where you could purchase the video of his journey for around $11 to $12. Um, a lot of the people who made response videos and reaction videos were a mix of celebratory and also disgusted. There was a lot of criticism, there was a lot of judgment, there also was a lot of glorification of this behavior. A lot of people stated that they are sex positive and they believe in sex liberation. They believe that people should have the agency over their own bodies, and since he is an adult and was consenting, there's no real issue with that. There was just this mixed bag of reviews. Other people were just completely mortified. They were disgusted. They don't understand what would possess somebody to take 96 loads within the span of 24 hours. Um, me, I'm just concerned. You know, many people have accused me in the past of being judgmental, and I realize it's not so much judgmental as it is concerned. And I'm concerned because I love humanity. I love humanity. And when I see somebody going wayward, it could be anybody. It could be someone that I know, it could be someone that I don't know. If I see somebody going wayward, if they're going astray, I'm going to say something because I do care. And I think that when you care about someone or people and you see them engaging in harmful behavior, hazardous behavior, and you don't say anything, you are in effect co-signing their dysfunction. I realize that silence equals death. You know, a popular slogan back in the early 80s, 90s was silence equals death. And we talk a lot about building community, right? But when it comes time to hold the community accountable for their dangerous actions, for their unhealthy actions, we're accused of being judgmental. We're accused of being hypercritical, you know? And the reality is this: it's not a matter of being judgmental. It's a matter of being concerned, because this can lead to a global health epidemic. This one man's actions can lead to an epidemic. You know, this is how HIV was spread initially back in the 80s. This reckless, careless behavior. And I think a lot of gay men engage in these behaviors because there is a form of low self-worth, low self-esteem, you know? Recklessness, throwing caution to the wind. Also believing that because we have access now to PrEP and DoxyPep, two medications that have been used to prevent the spread of HIV, AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia, because we have access to these new medications, that it just means we can bareback, we can have condomless sex, we can just return back to the 1980s, you know? And I think that such reckless behavior is definitely detrimental. Such mindsets are detrimental, because what many people don't know is that this overuse of PrEP and DoxyPep leads to antibiotic resistance. So when you genuinely do have a bacteria that you need to get rid of and they prescribe you an antibiotic, your body can develop a resistance because you overuse these medications. And while these medications are a tool to keep people safe and are a preventative measure in the fight against AIDS and HIV, the reality is this: it's not a cure. It's not something that you should be taking often, you know? Because as I mentioned before, it leads to so many different things: antibiotic resistance. It leads to gut issues where it kills the healthy bacteria in your gut, causing all types of diarrhea, and the microbiome in your gut is destroyed by overuse of these medications. And so that's another concern. Um, and I'm just concerned primarily about this young man's mental health, because we talk a lot about physical danger, physical health, your physical health being in danger, but we don't talk enough about the spiritual health and mental health of men who engage in these behaviors. What's going on in this man's life, or what has happened to him? What traumas has he experienced that will cause him to just abandon his need for self-protection? What happened in his life that caused him to just throw caution to the wind and engage in such behaviors? It's not healthy to take 96 loads within 24 hours, to allow people such access to your body. Your body is a temple to the living God. It is a temple. Letting everyone have access to your body is not advisable. It's not healthy. Let's talk about healthy versus unhealthy. It's unhealthy to let all these men come inside you. That's not healthy. That's exposing yourself to so many different dangers and spiritual dangers. We need to talk about how semen is very, very powerful. Semen contains DNA. DNA has the power to create a child, another life. So you can only imagine that semen inside another man. What are the consequences of that? I think, for one, this young man who allowed these men to ejaculate in his behind, I think there's a disruption there. There's a spiritual disruption. There's a spiritual malfunction. I think he is definitely susceptible to carrying the spiritually transmitted demons of these other men. These men don't realize that there are spiritually transmitted diseases that they can catch. And I asked myself, Lewis, why does this story resonate with you so much? Why does this disturb you so much? Why does this trouble you so much? Because this troubled me so much. I was crying for this young man. I was in tears for this young man. And it troubles me so much because I know what it's like to be lost. I know what it's like to be lost and to want to give up on yourself. I know what it's like to be so lost that you engage in reckless behaviors and you don't care anymore. You just say, to hell with it. When you feel unloved, unsupported, uncared for, you just crash out. You crash out. And I know what that feeling is like, and this is why I can empathize with this young man. Even if he does not have the insight right now to understand the ramifications of his actions, I definitely empathize with him because I know what that's like. To be lost and confused, and to want that closeness, that care, that concern, but don't know really how to access it in any healthy way. And so you monetize your body. You over-sexualize and sell yourself. You become the product, hoping to attract, allure, hoping to gain just company, friendship, love, community. You do all this just to build community. And while I don't know the man's motives behind doing that, it could have been for money, it could have been for love, it could have been for so many different things. I don't know his motives. All I know is that I'm definitely concerned about this young man, because I know that there are so many other young men like him. I'm not his judge. I don't have a heaven or a Gehenna to throw him in. I just know that I'm concerned about this young man. I'm concerned about all young men who engage in these reckless behaviors and try to sanitize it under being sex positive or to have a hyperfixation, They have a hyperfixation with gang banging and being gang banged and having orgies and multiple partners. You know, every hyperfixation should not be indulged in. You know, every door should not be opened. You know, a lot of people feel like, well, you know something, if I have a desire, I have a thought. We think thoughts, right? But every thought should not be acted upon. Sometimes people have suicidal ideations. Sometimes they have homicidal ideations. Should those ideations be acted upon? No. And the same thing with having unhealthy sexual ideations, you know? And this hyperfixation with all these unhealthy acts, sex acts, it's definitely creating a disturbance. It's creating a disturbance within the individual. It's just this fixation on lust is killing us all, if you want to know the truth. Especially gay men, I see them all the time. They're so fixated on lust because they feel unwanted, unloved. They're searching for the approval, the validation, the support. And they're going about it the wrong way. But when you say this, instantly you're accused of being judgmental. And you're not judgmental, you're concerned. You are a concerned party. I am a concerned party. And why am I a concerned party? Because for one, I know what that's like. I can empathize. As I mentioned earlier, I care about my community. I care about people. I care about humanity. And that's not a good look for humanity. I think it sets the tone of devaluation. I think when people see that, they think that they can devalue other gay men and other men. And that's not cool. That's not okay. To devalue and disrespect and just disregard other men, it's not okay. It's not. I see the way that other gay men talk to each other online and on these apps. They are so disrespectful. Oh, come suck me off. Yeah, do this, do that. Eat my groceries, eat me out, eat me out. What? And it's like the truth is the devil wants to dehumanize us. He wants to break our spirits. He wants to alienate us from God. He wants to decimate us down to nothing, to dust. And how best to do that but play upon our desire for lust? Play upon our hungers. If you target a person's hungers, their desires, they will soon follow. And what we are being led to is the grave. So many men, gay and straight, have been led to early graves. So many women, led to early graves because of this preoccupation with lust. And it's just not worth it. I think ultimately we're going to realize and we're going to come out of this with a newfound understanding. We're going to realize that this was not the way, We bought into the lie of this Sex and the City lifestyle, where it's fabulous and we don't have to care. We don't have to be hurt anymore. We can just have casual sex and it's all fine and we could just avoid responsibility and we could just throw caution to the wind. No. Now we have a different responsibility and it's a grief. Because how many children have lost their fathers because of lust? How many wives have lost their husbands? How many people have lost access to friends and information? How many artists and poets and writers and businessmen and people have we lost because of lust? And it's like, just thinking about this young man taking 96 loads in 24 hours, how you just throw your body and lay it down and your spirit is just gone. You let people just sex the spirit right out of you. And the funny thing is that we think that we are being given something. No. Something's being taken from us. When I looked at that young man's eyes, his eyes were hollow. They were completely hollow. They had no life left in them. And I see that all the time with these young gay men online. They have no life left in their eyes. Their eyes are just hollow voids. And you know, sex is sold under the guise of giving us pleasure, but it's really taking our purpose. It's snatching our purpose. But we think that pleasure is more important than purpose. But I think a lot of gay men, a lot of straight men, a lot of people in general are waking up. They're starting to see that this is not worth it. It's not worth the headache. It's not worth the heartache. And I realized something, that when you love people, and I mean really love people, you are going to speak up. You are going to let them know that they're circling the drain and they need to get on a different path. That's not judgment. That's not criticism or ridicule. That's called concern. That's concern. Because there's a healthy way to live and there's an unhealthy way to live. And there's a big difference. And we have to talk about what's healthy and what's not healthy. Because this taking 96 loads in 24 hours, that's not healthy. It's not healthy. It's not. And people want to sit up there and try to condone that. I was watching these videos. They want to condone it. They want to celebrate it. Oh, he's doing his thing. He's living his life. Someone said that on these videos. Oh, he's just living his life. He's living his best life. How are you living your best life? Surrendering your soul, your spirit to these men. Putting yourself at risk. Not only spiritual risk, but also physical risk. Putting your health at risk. How is that living your best life? But once again, in the community, we tend to glorify a lot of destructive behavior, and that's my issue. That is my issue with the gay community. This glorification and celebration and promotion of unhealthy behavior. And then when you speak out against it, you're seen as a hater. You're seen as being judgmental. You're seen as being hypocritical. And you're not coming from that place at all. You're coming from a place of concern. But once again, when people want to engage in destructive behavior and reckless behavior, of course, you're going to be seen as the enemy whenever you try to speak out against it. But you know something? I'll be the enemy. I will be that person. If it means your health and well-being, I'll be the enemy. And I know this, if I had a friend and my friend saw me circling the drain, they saw me in walking a dangerous path, and they didn't say anything, they're not my friend. They're not my friend. And when I came to, when I had a moment of clarity and I actually woke up from my darkness, my spiritual darkness, I would reflect back. I would reflect back on all the people who didn't say anything while I was going down this dangerous road. I think about my own life when I was living a reckless lifestyle. How many of the men that I dealt with actually took me to the side and said, this is not you. Lewis, this is not you. This is not you. How many of them actually prayed with me? How many of them actually took me to my place of worship? How many of them actually opened the Bible and showed me scriptures that will help put me on the right course? None of them, because they were too busy benefiting from my brokenness. And this is what's happening out in the community. They're too busy benefiting from your brokenness. They're not going to tell you that what you're doing is not healthy. They're not going to tell you that what you're doing could jeopardize your life, could jeopardize your relationship with your Heavenly Father. They're not going to tell you that. What they are going to do is just continue to benefit from your brokenness and keep on taking. As long as you're giving it up, they're going to keep on taking it in. They don't care. And that's my qualm, because when you do finally wake up and when you do finally regain consciousness after being locked in spiritual darkness for so long, you start to look around and you ask yourself, why didn't anybody stop me? Why didn't they speak up in my behalf? Why didn't they protect me, even from myself? I was a danger to myself before, but yet and still no one protected me. And I know why, because how could they ever protect you when they're also in danger? They can't protect you because they're locked in spiritual darkness. They are basically continuing to glorify dysfunction. They can't tell it to you. And the thing about it is, when you hold up a mirror to them, this is what happens. This is what I've learned. When you hold up a mirror to people's poor behaviors and their unhealthy behaviors, they resent you for that. They resent you. They feel as though you're judging and criticizing them. You know? You become very difficult to be around. This is why it's very hard to sustain friendships in the gay community, because oftentimes you hold up a mirror and you begin to reflect back what these men are doing, and they don't like the reflection. They don't like what they see. And so the easiest thing for them to do is to get rid of the mirror as opposed to change the behavior. They'll get rid of you because you're a hater. You're a killjoy. You're a stick in the mud. You're a wet blanket. So rather than take a look in that mirror and change the behavior, they'll get rid of the mirror. They'll break the mirror. They'll smash the mirror. And so my thing is, we have to do better. As men, we are being called to a higher purpose. I know right now a lot of men are derailed from their purpose, but you can always get back on track. It's never too late. If you've taken 1,000 loads, so it's never too late. In the scriptures, it says in 1 Corinthians 6, verse 9 and 10, that is who you were, but you have been washed clean in the blood of the Lamb. You can be washed clean. You can be pure again. You can be reborn. You don't have to remain in spiritual darkness, because the thing about it is this: we are children of light, and we are being called to walk in the light and to bring that light into dark places. And the thing about it is, darkness is definitely romantic. It's mysterious, it's alluring, it's seductive, right? But at the same time, it's dangerous. And it's taking our leaders, it's taking our partners, it's taking the people in our lives who could help build us up. It's snatching them. I see as I mentioned before, I see so many lost boys out in the world trying their best to find connection, trying their best to build community, but going about it the wrong way. And it's just time that we come out of these dark rooms, come out of these bedrooms, come out of these sick rooms. These are sick rooms. Come out of these back rooms, because these back rooms are just doing nothing but creating early tombs. So for that young man who took the 96 loads, I hope that he's okay. I really hope that he is okay. I hope that he finds spiritual fulfillment. And I hope he builds a relationship with God, because only God has the power to transform his life. And you know something? When you have a higher calling on your life, when you have a higher calling, people's judgments, their ridicule, their criticism mean nothing. It means nothing. Because you realize that they crucified a perfect man, Jesus Christ. They put him down. They ridiculed him. They stoned him. They pushed down a crown of thorns on his head. They placed him on a torture stake. They did all these things to a beautiful human being. So it just comes with the territory of being a truth teller. When you tell people the truth, they don't want to hear it, but it's still nonetheless the truth. So I pray for all my young men out there who are struggling, who are trying their best to transform their lives, who are just sick of being used, played, manipulated, left for dead. I pray for them. I pray that they are released from that life and that they come into a better understanding and a better connection with their Heavenly Father. Because truth be told, a lot of these men don't have their fathers in their life. This is why they're going out there chasing after destruction. This is why they're going out there trying to build community with other men, trying to find their own masculinity, trying to find where they fit in, and they're just bumping their head along the way. I pray that they definitely lean into divine guidance and divine wisdom and stop relying on their own understanding. You know, Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, take notice of God, and He Himself will set your path straight. He will set you straight if you take notice of Him. Gotta start taking notice of Him. Because taking notice of everybody else, these imperfect human beings, it'll lead to so much confusion. So, hope this video lands safely on your hearts, y'all. And take care of yourselves. Peace.